Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob.
Hey
guys, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Here
guys.
we are.
Here we
Good
are.
to see you both.
Good to
Oh,
see
wow.
you. I'm joined by the amazing Irish Pat.
Hey.
Hey. Nice shirt, Pat. Gotta give a shout out there. It's your name? Oh yes, it's
green.
It's a pub. Oh,
Yeah.
it's green. Oh,
It's even Pennsylvania. It's the wrong city, but
yeah.
Oh.
But that's your roots, right? South Philadelphia. That's like
Born and raised?
born and raised.
the playground where I spend most of my days.
You'll know what
Stop
we're
that.
talking about when you listen to this. You'll go, oh, good one.
And also joining me to my right is Miss Mariah.
Hi.
And Mariah, you're kind of the reason for the season right now.
This is about me
it's
and my
about Mariah.
choice.
Guys, we've been on a series called Our Top Tens, where we introduce our top 10 movies to the fellow podcasters, the fellow wannabe movie snobs. And this week is Mariah. Mariah, this movie, it's a doozy. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. I think I could say that.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that goes for sure.
I don't know that I feel like that's a compliment.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's a good neutral place to be.
Okay.
That's a good
All right.
good neutral place to be.
Giving anything away.
I don't think
we're-
we need to stay tuned and see
Stay
if Seth
tuned.
liked it.
Spoiler alert. This movie is has one of the most acclaimed directors of all time, has one of the most famous actors of all time. This movie is an award-winning movie. This movie was a pet project that the director just wanted to do so badly that he was willing to do whatever to get it made. Mm-hmm. Pat, you know what I'm talking about.
Work hard.
I like
Try.
sell out, Pat. Sell out. That was what I was saying. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
I don't know, guys' minds. I don't know where they go. But despite many studios' rejection of this movie, it did quite well. It was
Because it's amazing.
dare I say, a successful movie in the box office and in the critics' hearts. Mariah, what movie did you bring to us on this fine day?
The Quiet Man, 1952.
Ooh.
John
After the
Ford film.
War. Mr. John Pontiac himself.
Moving along.
Starring...
Mr. Chrysler. No.
Mr.
John Wayne.
John
And
Wayne.
Maureen O'Hara.
That's right. This is a collaboration between these three that is not uncommon. They've done
Yeah, one of 5, I believe.
crazy. That's got to be some sort of record,
That's pretty
right?
crazy.
It's a
That's
lot.
like that'd be interesting. Who's had the most like appearances together? I'm sure it's like one of those.
Hanks and Ryan.
All Marvel
Yeah, but
characters.
Hank's. Well, that's touche, Pat. Touche.
Yeah.
But in the before times.
Yeah.
In unrelated universes.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to be some kind of good streak.
Yeah, the Fast and the Furious would actually be up there too, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People have come back
The
together.
family stayed together.
It's family. It's family, guys. Mariah, have you seen this movie very much? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Go on.
My whole life, I believe I've been seeing this movie.
And has it always been like one of your favorites? Like, or was it just kind of like a realization when we did those top 10 lists?
It's always been up there, especially in the movies that my father had us watch to bond.
Oh, to bond.
To bond with him.
To punish you for... Okay.
No, most of them were John Wayne
James
movies.
James Bond and John Wayne. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of a feminist is what you call you guys as family. Real feminist power.
Oh, absolutely.
It's Bond and John Wayne.
But this one does have a spicy redhead.
Indeed.
Yes. Guys, it's time for cold brews and hot takes, and we will try not to give away whether we like or dislike this movie or whether we think it's a top 10 movie. Maybe we will.
Just failed
Maybe
already.
We
We don't know what Pat thinks anyway.
I'm so interested.
Yeah, I don't think it'll give it away. But since I'm talking now, I'll keep talking.
All right,
And,
Pat, lead us off, buddy.
Yeah, my cold brew today is Johnny Utah, Georgetown
Okay,
Brewing.
Getting
It's
close.
a pale ale, not an India pale ale.
Yeah, it's got to be a dark with this one, buddy. We got.
I know.
This is the first
I didn't
dark
get a black
beer
beer.
movie.
Utah,
I
the
know.
Ireland of the United States.
What?
No.
I think you'd say like Brooklyn is the Ireland of the United States.
Yeah, I didn't buy for the movie. I apologize. I don't love porters, so I just didn't
Me
do it.
neither. They're
That's
gross.
fair. They're not gross, and you guys are both wrong, but that's fine.
My hot
And
take.
is a stout, not a porter.
I believe he said it was a porter in the movie.
Oh, really?
When Joan said,
no.
"Can I get that black beer? One of them black beers?" He's like, "A porter."
Oh, I love this
think-
movie even more.
I think it was a porter.
So that's a bigger question though. What porter are they drinking in Ireland at every pub in the 1940s? That's what I want to know. Anyways, back to you, Pat.
My hot take is that this movie is problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. But, my argument to that is what John Wayne movie wasn't problematic?
Well,
Yeah, but we'll get into it.
We'll get into that,
It
'cause
doesn't necessarily totally
It's
reflect how I feel about the movie, but
It might not age well.
oh my gosh. My first horrible. Okay, I am drinking 2 beers that Mariah. I'm not gonna take that one because that's one you brought. So I'm not gonna steal your.
Yeah,
thunder on that
don't
one.
take it from me, please.
I'm drinking Nikasi Slayer, which is my dark beer. I was gonna get a Guinness, but now I'm glad I didn't because it wasn't even a Guinness in the movie. Since Guinness is a stout.
Also
so,
relying on my memory.
Yeah, that's true. It could just be Pat's inability to understand Gaelic, which, by the way, was spoken in this movie, and it was cool. That was a very cool part. I had 2 hot takes. Domestic abuse has never been so fun. That was my first. No one has taken it as lightly as this movie. There's probably someone out there that there's more like lightly. Here, honey, here's your stick for your wife. Oh, there's
That's a
so many
good
bars.
hit and stick.
It's so good. Okay, so that is my real hot take. That was just like I can't believe this movie is Mariah's favorite.
Top 10.
Also,
It's not number 1.
maybe explains a lot. I don't know.
I've been hitting Pat and Seth with switches their
That's
whole
true.
lives.
We had to pick out our own switches.
Lovingly.
I was 32 when that happened.
You're never too old.
You're never too old. I had a hard time going between, is this completely inappropriate or a cultural explaining? Like, I kept having to deal with this is cool, deal with culture, losing face is more of a thing. But then I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of hard to just write off. So inappropriate and culturally relevant, it's a fine line, guys. It's a fine line.
Okay.
There you go. That's mine.
That's a hot take, I guess.
Not really, I guess.
It's a take.
It's a take. I'll give you that. It's a mediocre.
Well, my cold brew is a Irish style red ale from Pelican called Seein' Red.
Pretty good.
SEA. Get it?
Good one.
I was hoping I could run into a Killian's, and there wasn't any at the grocery store.
No, it's hard to come by in Northwest. We
Yeah.
have too many beers that crowd out the big ones.
Yeah, there was no other than Guinness, which I will not drink.
Yeah, well, it's okay that you guys don't understand the goodness of God in beer form. So I get that. I get that. Yes, well, not everyone can accept the grace that is Guinness, so that's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I don't think I have a hot take. I think this is just great cinema.
There we go. There we go.
Despite a couple politically correct hiccup type
Incorrect,
things.
Yeah. Okay.
Incorrect.
Okay. So your hot take. Okay, we gotta go reactions. So you watch. Let's start with Mariah since she's been here. She's been there
Many times.
many times.
Yeah.
What was your impression watching it this time, or this 2 times? Since I know you watched at least 2 more times.
I think I scrutinized John Wayne's acting a little in this one.
Okay.
What?
No one else though. I loved everybody.
Marine was. Quite
There
good.
was just a great roundup of characters.
Yeah, that's
They
not
were
wrong.
charming.
That is not wrong.
Funny,
Yeah. Great characters.
lovable.
I
Well,
think as one reviewer said, everyone in Ireland is cute as a button.
That's right. And this movie may have actually further developed my love for the country of Ireland, which I have been kind of obsessed with my whole life.
that's funny. Accused button, especially when they're drinking, apparently, because in this movie, everybody's drinking.
Yeah.
Or having a Donnybrook. You know?
Oh.
One or the other.
Right. Pat, I assume you have also seen this movie before.
You know, I mean, I guarantee I've been in rooms where it was on. I have no recollection of this plot
Nice.
at all. And I think more of my John Wayne, was definitely more westerns that I saw. I was probably one of those like, oh, it's a romance, and I got out of the room. And now I'm like, was it a romance?
There's a lot of violent kissing happening here.
Like, does he like that lady?
Oh, you just didn't understand.
Yeah, it's the Irish culture, Pat.
So I don't have
drag
like
a girl you love through a field.
Yeah, and she's grateful for it. Finally, you stepped up to be a
5
man.
miles. 5 miles of fields.
It's a good stretch of the legs.
Good stretch of the legs. I don't have kind of any nostalgia about this movie because other than just John Wayne and clearly the style of filmmaking, which you're like, oh, okay, that's funny or noticeable at this point in time. But it was a journey going, what is this movie? What the heck is the story? There's tragic backstory that kind of matters, but also doesn't a ton.
Really. Doesn't actually.
And
Yeah.
It
and
mattered.
then being like, what are all the people in this town like insane?
Yes, they are. Why
a lot
don't you
of-
like the Irish people, Pat?
A lot
What
of
is
mania
your-
happening. People going
this
between
racism?
calm to raging, seemingly over nothing, and then simultaneously being really cool with like stuff you maybe would be
Whatever.
upset about.
Yeah.
It's so like John Wayne's character specifically. He was like so passive chill one second, like waking up on the floor in his little sleeping bag. That I thought was so funny. I would love to know more about that being like a thing, like Americans.
When was the sleeping bag invented? When did it come to Europe? Because boy, they were just
They were
intrigued
infatuated.
by that.
So funny. And
That's a good bit.
but then so he's chill about that, and then the next second, he's breaking her arm or snapping her head, and you're like, what's going on in this movie?
It's great. It's great.
He was a boxer. He's probably got mental problems.
PTSD for sure.
The irony is the whole time he didn't want to do any of those things, but then later they're like, it's almost
And
like pressure to
even
make
that,
it.
you're like,
All that therapy out the
I
window.
love it. It's the most Irish thing I've ever seen.
yeah, it's a
Pat-
crazy movie.
If you're okay with kissing people on the mouth, you'd understand.
Yeah. That might
Kiss my wife on the mouth.
that might be a boundary to your liking this.
I know. If you dragged your wife 5 miles back into town, then you would know this is how happy marriages work.
If you come out of your office and go, "Woman of the house,"
I don't mind that stuff. That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's funny. Yeah, the best part is I'll go back and prepare supper now.
yeah,
That was such a good bit. So I was impressed that it was actually filmed on location. It was one of the first things I thought.
Some of it.
A lot of it. But then you could see when they went back to studio to reshoot some like car scenes and like back, and it was really bad contrast, which was the bummer part. I felt like
you don't think the actual boxing was on location?
I didn't. No,
I actually liked the boxing scene.
The boxing scene wasn't bad. No, that you don't have.
It was kind of in this ethereal void, and you're like, that was like, Raging Bull just ripped off the scene from Quiet Man.
That's where John Wayne actually showed up and acted, I think.
I was like, there's this guy next to him just staring.
Wrong statement, but yeah. But no, they were really gorgeous shots in the countryside. Obviously, really riding horses, really going like really cool stuff. And so then when they shot back to the on the back of the
anytime they're
car,
talking on the buggy,
which is too bad because the cars it would have been great if they had. It was so obvious how pretty the Irish shots were
next to the B studio,
obviously back in Hollywood or whatever.
Technology.
I mean, they might, whatever it was, because they just couldn't marry it so well. But man, there were some shots I'm like, oh yeah, that is like misty, amazingly framed, walking through woods. Like it's just really
Academy Award winning even.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna bring it up, and it was hard because I'm like, oh yeah.
Can't the cinematography snob in you show up for this?
I can, but then it's like the why you keep throwing those back. There's got to be a way to not do the back projection stuff when you're in the car. There's got to be a way on the buggy or something. But man, it was that was rough. I was like, do what's his name does. The Italian spaghetti western guy where you just dub it all later.
I know. Yeah, they didn't totally worry about always having dialogue, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's times where it's like, she said something, and we're hearing the sound of the bike getting put down, but not her dialogue, and you're like...
Not important.
Not important.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. So that was surprising, and it was goofy. I was like, this is kooky. And I thought, this is...
No patty fingers.
I couldn't get over... I'm like, of all the John Wayne movies, this is Mariah's favorite. The whole time I was asking myself...
Every John Wayne movie I like are silly movies for him.
That is so
pretty much
funny. I was just...
your favorite Clint Eastwood Paint Your Wagon?
Yeah.
So
there's a really old John Wayne movie called Lady Takes a Chance, and it is hilarious. And it's about this woman who takes the wagon train from the East Coast to the California, I think, and he's some cowboy.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is hilarious. He has a funny sidekick who's drunk all the time.
Hey, being drunk is funny, guys.
There's funny
just a
stuff.
Good time. It's just there's nothing harmful about being drunk. Everyone knows that.
There's nothing. No one gets hurt when there's no cars.
Well, there's no cars. Yeah,
that's right.
And
I also we talked about that. This is John Ford's movie he always wanted to make, and I could see it. This is definitely an American trying to explain Irish culture. That was the other thing I kept going.
But also, there's a lot of Irish actors in this movie. There's a lot of Irishmen.
Yes.
So really, they're just being themselves. They're just being cute as buttons, as they are.
Story was
This is realistic, I would say.
By an Irish author, or the short story, the whatever Saturday Evening Post article this is based off, whatever. And there's a lot of seemingly in jokes for Irish people. And they speak Gaelic for a bit.
They make they make light of the Catholic versus Protestant.
Oh yeah,
Which I thought
ignoring-
was charming. You know,
No, yeah.
come
it's
on,
nice.
let's all
It's
lighten
idyllic.
up, you guys.
I saw a
Everything was
term-
lightened up.
I saw a term somebody called it stage Irish, which is
Nice.
Yeah.
like stereotypes, and no
Yeah.
wonder that's what we all think of. Well, maybe
Yeah.
not all of us,
Yeah.
but drunken
Yeah.
fighting people. This movie
Or
didn't probably
silly
help.
leprechauns, or
Yeah.
But it's also
Yeah.
this was one of the first, certainly American movies to show Ireland, and it was before they had their own, movie business. And the relationship with Ireland is complicated.
Could you tell me a few movies from the Irish movie business, just so I can kind of like be? No, just kidding.
Anything?
You like Harry Potter? Suck it.
What's the Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell? Well, they have two
that's good.
movies. that are
I mean,
both
I've seen
great.
the band cheer. Yeah, that movie's depressing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's so,
oh, I
so good.
love that movie.
So good, so depressing. This movie.
Oh, and in Bruges, which isn't really in Ireland, but it's
Yeah.
but it's made by an Irish director. So
Yeah.
that's the best I got. And then Song of the Sea, which we were talking about off in the green room. Wonderful animated movie by Cartoon Saloon. Secret of Roan Inish, Seth.
Charming children's
Plenty
movie.
of things I could totally tell you about.
That Frosted Lucky Charms commercial. I mean, Irish Spring. There's
yeah,
a lot of
Irish Spring.
Yeah.
Belfast.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
No, that's-
Sean Connery.
Hey, that is-
Hello.
There's some special effects in that are next level. There are
Oh,
some
the
next level
Banshee.
special effects.
So Death in the Carriage. It's a great
pretty
movie.
Crazy. So this movie was John Ford's. I don't know if he's ever said it was his favorite movie he's ever done, but it was like the one he wanted to do forever.
I think he said it's one of his favorites, and so did John Wayne say it's one of his favorites.
Yeah, which is.
And it's Maureen O'Hara's.
I mean, it was a vacation for everyone. John took his whole family. John
Yeah.
Wayne took his whole family, so it was like this happy memory for them to all go out and like hang out in the countryside in Ireland. You know who else is one of his favorite movies?
Yes.
Mr. Martin Scorsese.
Oh,
I was gonna say-
see?
George A. Romero is one of his favorite movies.
Really?
Yep.
See? I'm in good company,
Yeah.
people.
No, I was very surprised. He's like, yeah, no, this and Red Shoes are one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen.
Spielberg. I didn't really like this movie. He's got a scene of it in E.T. It's on one of the TVs in the movie E.T.
That's awesome reference that I did not know. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that one. Very fun.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
this movie is,
So there's no accounting for your terrible taste.
but they all say the same thing. It's like it's kind of.
Well, there's just
abusive,
movies
but yeah.
that don't, things
Should we
aren't
talk-
okay.
Should we talk about the plot so we can
All right, guys.
address?
From here on out,
problematic
spoilers because one of the plot lines, like to make this a super quick plot line, isn't revealed till 3/4 of the movie, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Because
It isn't even hinted at till halfway
No.
in the movie.
it's so good because I wish I didn't know that he was, spoiler alert, guys, a boxer, because it's so much more fun when it's revealed at that point because you're just like,
Mariah's like,
which makes me think,
Yeah.
how the crap did he get knocked out by that fool if he's a boxer? That was my first thought.
well, he got sucker punched.
Yeah, it's a sucker punch.
Yeah, and that guy was a good fighter. The one thing that was another thing, hot take. I'm like, bro's a good fighter. If he can put up with a guy who just murdered a guy in the ring, I'm like, here,
That's
brother.
how
Yeah,
they learn to love each other. Yeah, Mariah, what the heck
that's
is
the
plot?
Irish way.
Well, I'd like to point out that our narrator, who's really just at the beginning and the end.
Why is
That-
there a narrator? Why is there?
Yes.
That was so stupid. I was like, why
I
do we
thought
have
it
a
was
narrator?
hilarious. Like, look out!
Yeah.
Where's she going?
Why is there a
But
Yeah,
narrator?
that really broke the fourth wall the second time or whatever,
Yeah.
third time he shows up.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
Father Lonergan, who's played by Ward Bond,
Of course.
who is in every movie.
John Ford movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
everything. But anyway, I like to point out he was in it.
Yeah, and I forget that it was narrated till like it showed up again later in the movie. I'm like, oh, freaking, why is the narrator here?
It's
I don't
awesome.
understand.
I love it. See, I like things like that. I like having somebody kind of suck you in and like they're having a conversation, telling you the story.
It definitely did suck.
It was so good. You're
What did he call it?
so
Did he
awful.
call himself sickly or something at the beginning? And you're like, you seem fine compared to all these people. Like, what's
Sick? Yeah.
just
Yeah,
a
I
weird
don't know.
aside?
And
Yeah.
they don't reveal what him and the bookie were talking about at the very first scene. You know that very first scene when he goes in, he's like, I have to talk with him for a little bit, and John's like, oh, okay, I'll just keep walking ahead.
right.
Do you guys and
I
you guys
assume it
just-
was a bet.
Because
It was a bet. It
they
was-
recognized who it was.
Yes.
Trooper.
And it was in the original script. It was they to then talk about the bets and Father's behind. He's a little bit in the red, so he's got to kind of like John Wayne's kind
A
of
lot of bookmaking in this.
Yeah, a lot of
movie.
bookmaking.
Oh yeah, the whole confession, like where the other priest is like, I have a confession to make to her husband, and like I lost money or whatever, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like
The bishop comes out with
the bishop comes out and pays him a whole bunch more. These are just funny things.
they're just funny.
Priests
Alcoholism and
gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, guys, we're going to the plot now.
The plot.
I'm gonna do my quick plot. Okay, my real quick
Okay.
plot.
Speed plot.
Love it.
I'll tell you where
Pitts-
you have wrong.
A Pittsburgh native moves back to the land where he was originally from, which is a small town in Ireland. He goes then to buy land, pursue the hand of a woman, but is faced with Irish culture and a very upset brother who will not let him marry this woman. And hijinks
Hopeful
ensue.
brother-in-law
Yes,
who
hopeful
also wanted
hijinks
to buy that
ensue.
land. Yes.
And this person, who we find out to be an ex-boxer, has to basically abuse and fight everyone to give.
I think he just gets pushed to the point where he's like, fine, I'm going to fight. I'm going to be
Fine.
an Irishman. Like, it was his initiation into the
Yes.
Yeah.
town again.
Everyone knows if you want to be a true Irishman, you have to abuse.
Which earned his brother-in-law's respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to abuse. If you didn't
That-
abuse his sister, obviously you didn't really love her.
It's like prison
That's
rules, but Ireland
fighting.
rules.
That was good. That
Sean.
was actually pretty.
Sean Torton
Oh, I love that.
and
Fighting Will. Of
course it's
Red
Sean.
Will
And
Danaher.
that didn't bother me. That's
That was fine. Sucker
Yeah, for sure.
punches and
Yeah,
making fun
that's
of
all
each
good
other.
Fun. Yeah, that and honestly, the end long fight scene, which this movie's known for, is it's a low. I love it. I love that was the
It's great.
thing.
Yeah,
they're
for
fighting
sure.
all across the town, and they take a little
gorgeously
break to
shot.
fight.
It's obviously in Ireland. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
taking all the
that's
bets, stopping in the bar.
Oh yeah, the bar,
That's
the beer scene in the middle.
parodied by a bunch of people now, right? Everyone tries to do
Yeah.
these like breaks in the middle of a brawl, and you're being civil. That's great. Where it's problematic to me is the first time, like he kind of really interacts with Mary Kate is when she broke into his house and started a fire and started cleaning. He grabs
Very
her
sick.
arm, rips it off, pulls her into him, and he just kisses her.
Yeah.
That's
I think
assault.
that was partly the wind, though. It was really windy.
Uh-huh.
Also.
That's how you say
And he
as
just
that.
broken
as
the
he
window to
Hold
scare her.
face.
It's
Yeah.
an Irish tradition. You're just being racist against what
Yeah,
it
if you're
is
gonna be in
to
my house,
be-
I'm gonna make out with you.
Yeah. Hey,
And
she married
She-
him.
I know. So here's the thing that you kind of struggle with this whole movie. He assaults her in our modern context.
Yeah. It
And
was a bit rough.
That's very.
She's
that's
like-
very Western-minded of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ireland is also in the West, so it's
Which
also
I have
assault.
seen
Still.
That's still assault.
what I'll kindly call a hard kiss in a lot of westerns and old movies, right? Where you're like, that's that's not gentle. But then, of course, she liked it. She kisses him right before she goes out.
Right back.
And you're like,
We
okay.
need to call Pat's wife on this one. On a scale of hard kiss. Okay, John.
I've never seen them kiss.
Well, not on the mouth.
We know.
Gross.
Well, they did get married though. Well, one time.
To each other?
Yeah.
We just do hard handshakes and see which one gives up.
Yeah, see? That's also abuse. It's just not as obvious.
No,
and
I'm okay
she
with
initiates though, so it's fine. It's fine.
I'm okay with it.
Rough
that is
handshakes
But that's
so
like-
funny.
They start the whole thing off where he is quite aggressive physically.
I think we should have a rough kiss.
But I think if we're talking
we should
also
go-
about like It Happened One Night, and we're talking about all of the movies of the
I
40s
know.
and 50s, like
And
this
they're
is
all
not new.
problematic.
They are.
But
I admit it.
But he also like goes off and he throws her on the bed and breaks the bed. I was curious if that was meant to happen or if it was a happy accident.
I think they were badly.
So they could have that joke later.
I
It's
think they were
obviously-
poorly made.
Oh, yeah,
beds.
that's true. Good one. Which
I think it was
they
an
had to
English
cut out part of that.
English made bed.
Yeah,
Only
yeah.
in certain countries. Only in certain countries. They
Yeah.
kept in some.
But yeah, like, so little bits here and there, and you're like, I love that. But also, she is manic. She goes from
Oh yeah, she's got a few
sweetheart
personalities here.
to like raging
Nobody
about
says these
nothing.
are guys. Nobody says these are the couple to look to for like relation. This
I
is
don't
not
know.
relationship goals.
They are
okay.
volatile. It is a
There, yeah.
volatile couple.
I've
Passionate.
known this. I've known that girl.
Passionate. And yeah, they're just seemingly mad at each
No,
other all the
Mariah.
time.
It's not Megan. I kept. Jeez, Mariah.
But
Megan.
whatever. Okay, so that's
She's
all
not
like
here to defend herself.
that's all like normal for this era stuff. And then we get the end.
Yeah. So what's the problem? Just
We get to the end
adapt to your surroundings.
where the story point is literally he's dragging her 5
From the
miles
train.
from the train station,
To
tossing
return
her
her
to the ground constantly, offered
Yeah.
a huge switch by a lovely woman who said, you can hit her with this.
It's so.
He
That
said,
was a
gee,
great scene.
thanks.
Great scene.
But he
just
didn't hit
ripping
her
her
with it.
arm off.
Yeah. Throwing her. And the fun fact of that, real poop all around there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is
And
a
John
fun.
Ford was like, no.
And John
Let's
Wayne.
keep shooting it. Let's just keep shooting it.
Well, they kept
They kept
kicking it
yeah.
on and moving
Both
it off.
sides were trying to move the manure, put the manure back, move the
that's
manure,
so
put the
Wouldn't let
manure
her
back.
change
Funny.
for the rest
In
of the
the
day.
end, the manure stayed,
Yeah.
and she was dragged through it.
But just like it's not even dragged like you're dragging, like come on, kid, get it, let's go home. You're in trouble. He keeps throwing her to the ground and then grabbing her hair and dragging. You're like,
I
This
think
is a
you're
lot.
exaggerating
do
a
too.
little
I feel
bit.
like it's
And-
fine.
and
I
the
feel like
music's-
it was more.
No.
She kind of.
It was very
No.
cartoony.
Yeah,
like
I feel
no.
the amount he tosses
I think
her
that
to the
grass
ground.
was soft. It was like Irish, like
is
it was like just a field of
upsetting.
heather, and it was bouncy and
I
soft.
feel like it was a dance, and they were both like he was leading a little bit, but they're both kind of moving
Yeah.
together that
Yeah.
way.
The
yeah.
music's going dee, 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 and the crowd's all like, "This is the greatest thing. We can't wait to see this."
Throw it out again into the poop.
She's like, "About time you did
Yeah.
this."
Yes.
And you're
It's so
like,
great.
I don't
That's why she pushed. She was
understand.
pushing, and finally
Oh my gosh.
she
Which
broke
it's not
him.
okay, but in the context of the movie,
Yeah.
you're like, I guess this
makes
was what
sense.
she wanted.
Yeah.
No,
And it
was
makes me feel
yeah.
uncomfortable.
Well, look at her brother. Like, look who she grew up watching.
Yeah. But
Like,
even
the
I feel like she gave
grumpiest,
him the
drunkest-
business pretty
Yeah.
pretty good the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was
Wipe your shoes.
The thing I like about it, like this is gonna
The thing I
I'm
like
Seth's-
about him.
Seth's gonna defend
And
domestic
Seth's
abuse.
Done.
This is one of those where
Again.
you suspend
Again.
you
Yeah, we're
suspend
gonna need a
your
trigger warning on this
judgment
episode.
on some of
We
this.
should trigger warning. A little late, but there we go.
I
Don't
mean,
drag your
well,
wife
kind
through a
of.
field We don't condone dragging your wife through a field for 5 miles.
Unless there's nice, soft cow poop to stop the blows
And the
when they fall
whole
to the
town's
ground.
watching.
And placing bets.
Unless it's an event, then it makes sense, Pat. I mean, this is a town. Who is she to say, like, oh, let's not? And she started it. She's the one trying to go to Dublin.
There's men of the cloth involved.
She wasn't really trying to go.
Yeah, I
That's the
know.
whole
I know.
thing.
And that's the great part. She staged the whole thing. This is like what she.
Tell him I went to the train station.
The only thing I was watching, I'm like, okay, it's a little ridiculous. It's a little abusey here. But I get the concept of Americans don't get the concept of like saving face. We don't understand how important it is to be. You can't lose your reputation. That's worse than death.
Well, and also this is like
The
an
whole
example.
dowry thing.
The
Yeah.
whole problematic thing
He's like, I'm rich.
aside, this is an example of a woman who is unwilling to budge on her values, on her self-worth. Like, this is who I am. This is part of me. If you don't care about it, then you don't care about me. Like, there's parts of this explanation where you're like, I see where she's coming from here. Of course.
sure.
And the fact that he's not fighting for it as hard as she is, that's really disappointing. The whole, I'm ashamed of you, you're going to have to drag
So
me
good.
through a field
That's
for me
so-
to get your respect. Like, these are the problematic areas.
It all
But
does seem for
at
show.
the heart of it,
Yes, Mariah! Yes.
I feel like
Yes!
they're coming from a place where you just need some understanding here. Like, there's got to be a compromise. There's...
I'm not gonna lie.
Everybody
Mariah.
learned a lesson here.
I'm not gonna lie.
Everyone learned a lesson.
I love that most of our podcasts.
I'm willing to overlook some stuff,
Pat
obviously,
is like-
to enjoy this movie.
This is wrong for women, and this is
Yeah.
wrong. This.
She
and then
is a
Mariah's
strong
like,
woman. She's
this is the way it should be. This is the way it has to be, and this is the way it always is going to be. I don't see the
in
problem.
Ireland back then. That's how it was.
They're
Mariah
cute.
is
You
such
can't
a trad
change it.
wife.
Do you want to rewrite
They're
it?
cute. They fight a lot, and they're a little abusive, but it's okay because they have a good heart.
I'd
That's
also like
okay, Pat.
I'd
They're
also like to
equally
point out,
abusive,
yeah, there's like no one-sidedness of this. There's no victim here.
She did throw a punch.
Yeah, she.
I will be canceled. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Good luck on
yeah.
your search for the next
The next person.
person
But yeah,
on your podcast.
outside of all of that, the rest of the movie, I think, had a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, and the concept of trying to explain how important having your reputation, like standing up for what you should stand up for, is just because John Wayne, all of us are like, well, yeah, why would he care about a couple coins? But that's not the point. You're missing it, John Wayne. And so I think John Ford was like really trying to just needle into the American viewer. You got to do this, or else you're not going to be respected by anyone in the town. And then the wife can feel it, but he can't.
And in so many instances today too, like the fact that the man is like, it doesn't matter to me if you come to me poor, like that's the charming,
you think that's all
heroic thing.
admirable. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is what
Nope.
you should want as a person, but that's not what she wanted.
And that's not what a lot of, and that other cultures, not just Irish, is similar. They're like, no, that's you. It's more important that you stand up for yourself, which is standing up for me, which is standing up for your family, and then we're not losing face. Like, there's a lot of this. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
I can see why she's like, quit being an
In
American.
reality, yeah. Today's reality is this is very misguided, and this is like mental health issues and
Maybe, but it's also like
systemic abuse.
the other thing
all sorts
though
of things.
is it seemed like a charade for the most part. Even like when he was throwing her hard down the ground, it did seem like I'm like, this is like they're both kind of joking around about it, even though she looked distressed. But then she's like, as you said, manic. So she's like switching in and out. So the first time I'm like, oh, this is like totally the show she's been waiting for. This is the WWE.
And then she gets it. Yeah. She gets the dowry. She gets the money. And then together they throw it in the furnace. We're like, all right, we got it. Let's burn this mother.
It's so good. It's
like,
yeah. So all that, I was like, I'm down for that.
That
I'm like,
part's great.
It was the
Yeah.
principle.
It's hard to reconcile. Like, how would you redo this in 2024? How would you get this concept of like?
It would be a Hallmark movie without abuse. It would be like, I'm
Lindsay-
not going to give you a Christmas present,
Lindsay Lohan.
and I'm going to leave town, but you're going to catch me, and you're going to give me the Christmas present that I always wanted, and then we're going to live
And
happily
you'll-
ever after.
And you won't turn back into a snowman.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie.
Well, and it's
I
staying up
feel like
to
you would-
her.
I think in a more up to date movie, you would introduce that they have these views earlier. I think both him not wanting to fight.
So you spoon feed it to him, Pat.
Yeah,
Well, and they'd
Okay,
also
come
they'd
on,
also
buddy.
be seeing therapists, not priests
Yeah,
and
yeah.
ministers. But in this is what
As
they had.
long
These
as
are the
those
therapists.
are betting on horses, I'm in. But
Yeah.
if those therapists aren't betting on horses, I don't trust them.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it made it, in the modern lens, it made it hard to be like, isn't it good that he's not a violent guy constantly? Although he was violent plenty. But like, he didn't want to fight, and she's like, that's terrible. And we're like, yeah, like he doesn't care about the money, but it's like, you should care about the money. And you're like,
Yes,
I'm
'cause
so
it's-
confused.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, that makes sense because it's respect.
Well-
it's not the concept of the
Yeah.
money. It's not the concept.
Could you
and-
just put yourself in someone else's shoes?
and- oh my
Pat,
gosh, and Pat,
and
you
like
probably,
could
understand a different
eventually-
perspective.
and he obviously hasn't
if-
dated 3 or 4 people who are like, I want to see you fight for me, and not like figuratively, literally. You haven't dated that girl, Pat.
I'm
Actually.
gonna pick a
So-
fight with that guy, and I want you to punch him.
Yeah, I've
So
been
to
there.
Show.
Exactly right. That's real, Pat. That's a real thing.
I know it is.
It's a real gross thing,
It's
but
a real gross thing, but it's a real thing.
it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just think there was a conflict that was like a little bit behind the scenes in a way. That it did become fun and like, oh, okay, that's why he didn't really want to fight. But also there was plenty of reason
Because Mama said knock you out.
for him to just not fight. I didn't feel
Yeah.
like he was pushed enough to where you'd be like, oh, he's like, I'm gonna punch you, and then he like stopped. It was just kind of like, nah, he's just cool dude. Like he doesn't need to fight.
I know what I would do differently. I would make it seem like when John Wayne's character realized, oh, your brother's actually a legit fighter, I'm not worried I'm going to kill him. Like, like something like that. Because like John Wayne does the noble thing and doesn't fight him. And in an American movie, you know what would have happened? There would have been the reveal to the wife that he killed somebody in the ring. And she would have said, no wonder you didn't fight him. I appreciate that. That would be the American version.
Yeah, in this
yeah.
version, does she ever find out why?
We don't know.
No, I don't
Really,
know.
the priest is the only one that knows.
And he's making
They
bank
only-
on that.
They only said 2 words to each other before they got engaged, and then
It's goofy.
and then they didn't really talk at all on their
the
long walk.
the whole matchmaker thing is so
Pretty
cute.
I
Them,
like the matchmaker.
I like that
escaping from McLean and like taking the bicycle. Like it's adorable.
Well,
There's
and
just
him-
cute,
That's good. That's a good
cute,
bit.
His
silly
horse
things.
stopping at the pub, and so he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea."
Who am I? Yeah.
I was charmed by that, and the funny, like the old man who gets revived because there's a fight outside.
He's on his deathbed,
Yeah, that's
and then
such
he's
a
like,
good
"Wait,
bit.
what?"
That's good.
John
stuff.
Ford's brother. John Ford's brother, right? Or dad?
I
It's
don't
somebody's
know if
brother.
that would
I
have
think
been
it's
his
John
brother.
Ford's brother.
John Ford's
John
brother.
Ford's brother. Yeah.
His son plays a stunt double in
Yeah,
the
he was the
fighting
guy
scene
who went into the river.
because
Nice.
Will in real life wasn't in good shape
Old.
either. Yeah, he was old, and they had to be careful with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. More. Yeah. What should we just discuss? How many family members are in this?
Sure.
Oh, yes. Let's jump into.
So
like,
we've
the
got
fun
John
facts.
Ford's brother and son.
Francis Ford Coppola. Oh, Francis Ford.
Yes.
That's
Marie-
how I
John
remembered it.
Wayne's-
I was like,
John Wayne's kids are in like the cart before the bonnet race.
oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
They're the girls.
Maureen O'Hara's 2 of her brothers are in it.
Really? That's great.
Yeah.
And then I think wasn't Micheline's brother was somebody
Oh, really?
in
That's
the
cool.
movie?
Probably.
Oh, there was
I'm gonna
quite a few relations in this.
I'm gonna take a step back here. John Ford is notorious for using the same people over and over again, similar to like Wes Anderson or some other, But
It's kind of in the old theater troupe
yes,
vein, you know?
but the interesting thing was because John Ford was very Irish, and so was a lot of his. They were called the Irish Mafia around the studios because they it was very different. Because at that time, you had a lot of the heads were of Jewish origin at that time. You had this like the traditional big four were from Jewish origin. You had Frank Capra, who was Italian, and you had Italian
The
American,
rise of
course.
the Irish.
And so he always had this like Irish, like it was almost like a New York or Chicago back in the day, where everybody had their little like small
Gangs
ethnic,
of New York.
It was like their small like ethnic group troops. I mean, yeah. I mean, John Wayne. Anyway, but it was because that was what they called them. They called them the Irish gang mobsters.
So, yeah, Barry Fitzgerald, who was Micheline O'Flynn, the matchmaker, his brother was Reverend Playfair,
That's
even though
right.
they
that's
don't
great.
share a name.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, all these people were related. The actors in the background are related.
For not a huge cast either.
Yeah, it was great.
No.
That was a lot of fun.
That's the other thing too. I think the movie does a good job. Like it felt like a real village full of people, and there weren't and it was memorable characters and
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when he arrives at the train station and like the locals and the conductors are like
great.
just bickering and like looking over the fence and like, what's
if
he
you
doing
studied
here?
your
And-
history, you'd know.
yeah.
You know?
It's
They
very
assume-
charming.
they assume he's
a little
fishing.
Monty Python-ish with their whole like
Yeah.
banter back and forth.
Yeah. And
I
they assume
liked
he's
how-
there for fishing only.
Yeah.
There's no other
Yeah.
way. Why else would you be there?
Yeah. Why would
I
he
liked
come
how
here?
when he drags Mary Kate off. I didn't like that part, but like
Yeah,
right
yeah.
before that, they're talking about
Keep
the
saying
train's
that.
already
Saying
like
that, yeah.
the train's already like 2 hours late. And
Yes.
the guy's like, well, what do you expect? And then they all run off, and it's like, okay, yeah. This is not a reliable train.
This
No.
is great. I felt like an American.
Well, and
train.
them all telling him how to get to Innisfree, and finally Micheline's just like, "Hey, come on,
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go.
we're gonna get you here."
Oh, that's a great.
Yeah,
bit.
the stuff, the big fight, and they kept going on about it's like the Marquis of Queensberry rules, and like, oh, of course, the Marquis of Queensberry rules. And
Yeah,
it's just like proper boxing rules, I guess.
yeah,
And it's just
yeah.
the brawl. All that, like, yeah, the fake propriety of stuff with the matchmaking.
Yes,
There's a bunch
that's
of
great.
wonderfully charming things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a gorgeous place. And of course, Irish accents are just fun. If it just wasn't quite so problematic, I think I would have enjoyed the whole thing.
It's a little less abusey.
Yeah.
Just a little
And the
less
funny thing is,
That's the thing. Growing up watching it so many times, I missed that, awareness at the time. And so the movie's still charming to me. Yes, there's these extremely problematic things. These people are a little on the...
Well, they play it for comedy, and
Yeah.
it was.
yeah.
And
for
I think
sure.
Yeah.
everyone in the movie thought it was comedy, right? I think all the participants
These people
were like,
are all like
no,
best
this is
buddies.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
exactly
just
right.
They
now,
loved each other.
it's
They
like,
all
I
thought
don't
this was-
love that,
Yeah.
but
I mean, 'cause
nobody at
even
the
at the-
time had a problem.
No, and even at the end of the movie, like you see, Maureen's character, Mary Kate, grab the board away, and kind of put it to the side because it's like you're never using that again, and so there's almost like this understanding that like he's still the same character who wouldn't do all these things, but he has to go against what he wants to drag her across to fight
Prove
the brother
himself.
to be accepted into the Irish culture.
Yeah.
Because the Irish people are such a loving people of peace and harmony.
Fists.
Uh,
Fists and pints.
Well, and, just their drunken singing coming, after the wedding and bringing all
The
their
wild
furniture
colonial
and,
boy
That's great.
singing.
and
Also, Maureen O'Hara sings in this.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her.
it's a
Good
real
for
She
her.
did it. She did a good job.
Yeah, she did. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
wild.
All right.
It's a wild movie.
So, Let's fun facts. Any more fun facts you all got?
Sure, probably.
Actually, the research team got on this while we were going. The black
Good.
beer is
Yeah?
most likely a reference to Guinness.
Yeah.
But at the time, it had different grades, and the lowest grade was porter. And as they got
so
better
are you
at
that
making
impressed
it,
now?
I am actually. That's kind of cool. I'd love to have a
so
Guinness porter.
the working class drank the porters, and then
That's great.
they made better
I
ones,
love
and
that.
eventually they got better where it stopped being a porter, but people still call it that, I guess. Because that was the cheap. That was the cheap.
I wish I brought the Guinness.
One of my favorite kind of facts. Well, they're all great, but at the end of the movie, she whispers something to him, and then goes running into the house.
Okay.
And he goes following her. So this is a line that John Ford initially told her to say this to him without him knowing, so that it could be real surprise on his face.
Okay.
And she at first refused. She was like, I can't say that to him. But then he convinced her to do it. And
I'm so interested.
to this day, nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
No.
It's
They haven't
spicy,
told anyone.
Whatever it was, right?
It was naughty, and it was like
which is
off the cuff.
crazy
Yeah.
because there's a lot of spiciness
They
in
kept,
Hollywood.
they kept the secret.
Yeah.
They're both gone now, so we don't know.
Yeah.
They're all gone now.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, because all my stuff, like,
Here's one that will make Patrick feel really validated.
Oh, great.
During the film
Just
of a
what he
take of
needs.
the scene where John Wayne first kisses Maureen O'Hara, she slaps his face. When he blocked the
Nice.
blow, she broke a bone in her hand.
Stop it.
Since the movie wasn't being filmed in sequential order, she couldn't wear a cast to fix it.
So she couldn't do the slap again.
Well, I'm sure they used that take, but she couldn't cast her hand because
Whoa.
they
Yeah,
weren't
so
going
she
in
probably get
order.
dragged through 5 miles of
With a
manure
broken hand.
No.
with a broken hand.
That was the first thing they shot.
Oh,
There you go.
Like, that was the funny part. It's like, hey, welcome to Ireland. Let's drag you through some crap. Like,
which I guess a fun fact I read was that they did actually rehearse that pretty thoroughly.
right. Crazy.
Which is amazing because it looks raw and real, but then they have the whole shoe off thing and the lady chasing her, and
Use this.
Maybe
we should give
ignoring-
that guy's wedding presents.
ignoring
A
that
switch.
part of it, it is all funny. Like I can see it. If I go back 50 years, I'm like, yeah, that's funny. But it's hard.
nutty.
It's hard to do that because
It's a
she's like, oh,
goofy
thank
movie,
you.
Mariah. This is
She's
a
like-
goofy movie.
If it's
She's
not
not
dark,
actually
it's
hurt.
got to be silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Pan's Labyrinth to this is very confusing because let's go here.
I'm a person of
Let's
many.
go here. The Searchers, John Wayne's character is horrible, but he's horrible
Yes.
on purpose. And so
Right.
I would argue that The Searchers is a better message than this because The Searchers, he's a racist son of a gun. And he's
Or
a
True Grit.
horrible human being. And True Grit, same thing. There's no question of what's
Yeah,
right or
it's the
wrong.
bad
But there's
guy.
not a whole lot of layers to the character when you just know he's a bad guy.
But there's a lot of layers to the people reacting to him, and that's what makes The Searchers really good. Is it's the whole like tapestry of what's going on, and I always said I prefer John Wayne as like an evil dude, like all the time movies
He's
that he's
fun like
horrible in.
Well, that's honestly in this movie. It might be he might be the least likable part of the movie for me. I think.
Oh, interesting.
I think the ensemble is what really like Michelin
Yeah,
with
that's
all
true.
of his
I'll give you
patty
that.
fingers and the bartender and the widow and like
Michelin.
Will.
Oh,
Michelin always complaining about how dry his mouth was every time he,
So
somebody
parched.
needed something from. Oh, I'm just so parched.
My mouth's like the desert. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
John
adorable.
Wayne felt like this was hard for him because he had to be the straight man the whole time.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and it-
exactly right. Do you guys
Actually,
what's the movie where John Wayne dressed up as the old guy?
Dressed up as the old guy?
Yeah, he had to be older. It was one of the million of war movies with John Ford. But John Wayne had to like act like he's a little bit older, and John Ford's like, "Holy crap, you can act!" They've done like 10 movies together at that point.
Yeah.
So like, there's definitely
was it with Maureen O'Hara?
It could have been
Rio Grande.
Oh, there's Rio Grande. It could have been. Is he old in that one?
Well, they're both older in that one.
Yeah, I don't know. He plays.
She wore a yellow ribbon. He's pretty young.
Yes. Is he pretty young?
So he might have played older. I don't know. It was
I don't remember. He had put makeup on and stuff. Anyways, it might be a yellow ribbon. Anyways,
the other fun fact oh yeah, it is. But I was going to say, in terms of talent, John Wayne actually was the director, a second unit director for the horse race stuff, because John Ford was sick.
Yeah.
And apparently John Ford was also like, I don't even know what this movie is, and it's a mistake. And then he saw those dailies, and he was like, oh, I wish I filmed that, and then got all fired up about the movie. So that was kind of
great. That's
great.
great.
I was stressed about that horse racing. They kept going up and down those weird little knolls and things.
Yeah.
You're like,
I'd be more.
I
would be really
a leg.
More concerned about the animals for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
don't care about people. No,
Although,
yeah,
you know the story
That'll be
about
fine.
John Wayne almost dying in a John Ford movie. He fell off a horse, passed out when there's a stampede coming by.
Oh gosh.
And this is before the wars. So one of the other horsemen put his horse in between John Wayne and the horses coming by, so they wouldn't run over him. But that was another John Ford movie that he almost died. Here's the crazy thing, so we got to talk about John Ford being a tyrannical dictator. Like, we just got to at least mention it. So John Ford, despite having the same cast and crew, still was kind of a jerk on set. Not kind of. He was a jerk on set. And he just yelled at people. He destroyed John Wayne, constantly saying, you didn't even need to go in the war. You're a terrible actor. And this is one of his best friends.
Yeah.
He's just
Maureen O'Hara actually had kind of had a theory about why he was such a stinker. Because she was a stinker to people. What she said, something like he always wanted to be a war hero, but because he never could be, he just wanted to
act like he was on there.
Yeah,
which is so funny and that's why he was the first one to join the Navy before the war even broke out. He's the one who started the whole photo thing for the Navy and for the Army that got all the other directors involved. And he was spying on Japanese ships for 6 years before the war broke out. It is crazy stuff. He's always been into that. And the stories are he's this contradiction because this one person came up and asked him for money, and he yelled at him and berated him how dare you ask me for money, blah 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 blah, in front of everybody. And then he told his assistant, hey, go give him that money. And then the assistant gave him the money and gave him pension for the rest of his life, so he never had to worry about money again. So it's this he wants to be seen as an a-hole. He wants to be seen as a tyrannical dictator.
You got to keep that persona.
And then Maureen, they asked her later, would you want to do another more for me? He's like, I'd shoot another movie with that SOB. He's horrible to work for, but we all trust him, and we know it's going to be good stuff. And we know, it's they know deep down, despite how awful he is, it's not real or something.
Yeah.
Which, again, kind of is representative of this movie.
They kind of dismiss the icky stuff. I'm
they kind of it's problematic.
He's a real big jerk, but look what he made.
Is it all for show? The whole thing about this is except for the kiss in the beginning, the kiss and the slap. That was a little okay. That's kind of that.
It's just really
that's
wind.
That 40s
rapey
normalness. That was the thing, unfortunately.
I will shake you until I'm ready to kiss you.
I love you so much because I'm shaking you, and it's very.
You're gonna have whiplash.
But then the whole the throwing her down and it's a little rough and it's not sure what it's supposed to be, but it's obviously for show. Everything's obviously for show when you have the literal crowd following you.
The whole town is there.
So
there's a lot of plotting in this movie. So we had the matchmaking plot to convince Red, that if he got rid of his sister, then the widow would marry him, which turned out to be true. eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
And then we
What's he
had
whining about? Jeez.
Yeah, and then we had I guess the ruse about I'm gonna run away until you fight my brother for my dowry. And then there's just like that little fun thing, which also like the glazing over of the Irish kind of Civil War, where
Yeah.
the
Crazy,
Reverend is like, hey, everyone, like, act like you're so excited, when the priest comes by, so that everyone, so his bishop thinks people are really excited about him. And like,
Well, yeah,
the
because he thought he
Protestant
was going to
priests
have
are,
to
you know,
get
are-
sent away.
Yeah,
Act
the
like you're a
Protestants are
Protestant.
covering like their
Yeah.
their
So funny.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's probably not how it would go, but it's
Yeah.
nice. It's a real
Yeah.
nice thing.
Yeah.
Catholics and
it's
Protestants
not.
just hanging out together.
Yeah, it's fiction. This is a fiction movie.
All right.
But it was nice.
By the way, John Ford got in trouble for sending money to the IRA.
I could imagine that.
Or was it his dad? Like, I think of the timing. But yeah, because like the IRA was technically a terrorist group according to England, and so he sent him money.
They
and he
bombed
went
some
to-
things.
He went to jail, and then when he came out, he still sent him money. So it was like it's funny. It's like he's committed to Ireland. Like he's committed.
Yeah.
Like there's no question about it. And so it's kind of like the same thing with the military. Like John Ford wants to show how American and how Irish he is. He just wants to make sure people really know. And that's what it felt like. It felt like John Ford saying, hey, I understand Irish culture. And here's a cute movie about it.
Well, and I feel like too in watching Maureen O'Hara, I want to read her biography now, but just in her interviews, she's very opinionated. She'll like correct you without apologizing, and she's like, which reminded me a little like this is the description I've heard of John Ford.
Oh, I was thinking of what's her name from Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh no, Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway.
Yeah. No, she's a little nicer about it.
Yeah,
but
Faye Dunaway. Oh.
Yeah. She was correcting some interviewer about he was like reciting an Irish blessing to her, and she was like, "No, it's this,
That's
not
cool.
that.
That's
so
cool.
don't say it this way. It's offensive," and like kind of yelled at him.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
right. Well, and I mean, it is a love letter of sorts to Ireland because, like, putting the Gaelic in there,
it's dope.
It's
Love
still
that.
very few movies still have kind of done
Sleeping
that.
Okay,
bag.
I want to
It's
say this.
so out of nowhere. I think story-wise, you're
For
like,
sure.
why are you doing this?
Because she spoke Gaelic. We're like, "Hey, you speak Gaelic.
Yeah.
Let's throw that
Honestly,
in."
It made more
cool.
sense than having a narrator. Let's just be real right now. It made way more sense than having a narrator.
100%.
Thank you, Pat.
And there
Or
she
the-
was speaking
Or the
Gaelic
priest
to me.
that's obsessed with fishing, or
and gambling. They did play down the gambling of the priest a little bit.
Keep his head up.
Yeah.
yeah.
I do appreciate this is trying to explain cultural differences to the audience, because that's what it seems like. The whole thing seems like this is a big cultural explanation movie. That's what it feels like to me, and it's trying to say, Americans, you can't just be American if you want to be part of Ireland.
You have to immerse yourself in the culture.
And change. And whatever's uncomfortable, you still have to do it, because John Wayne was every American's opinion at that point. He was everyone were like, oh, he's doing the right thing. But they're like, no, right for you isn't right for here. And I like that part as someone who's done very stupid things in other cultures, thinking that my Americanness was the right way. And it 100% is a cultural thing. And this is where I don't know if I'll die on this hill, but I'll get close. We are really cocky thinking we are right in America when it's really just cultural. And this is something that I'm like, I appreciate it tried to do this. I don't think it did it perfectly. But I appreciate what it was trying to do. I think John Ford is trying to say, guess what, Americans? You need to learn that it's important to defend who you are, your family, your wife, your husband. There needs to be something that you need to defend in any way possible, whether that's fights when you don't want to fight, whether that's awkwardly caring about money when you don't care about money because it's important to your family. So I appreciate that. Did it pull it off? Not 100%, but I like that effort.
I think it did at the time.
Oh, probably did, honestly. And some people do say this was the movie that introduced Ireland to America. Like this is everyone's interpretation of what Ireland was. Which, John Ford is Irish, but he's Irish American. So let's be real. So this is not really what person you want to be introducing to him, but that's another story altogether. So I appreciate kind of the intent. I just don't think it nailed it perfectly, and it definitely is probably not something you're going to explain. Hey, guys, let me tell you about Ireland. Watch this. I would love to hear what people from Ireland thought of this movie then and now. Like, what they say is like, did you nail it?
I think they think it's complicated. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like stage Irish. It's leaning in a lot of the not ideal stereotypes about drunken fighters.
And which we'd like to say, show me someone who's not drunk and fighting. Oh,
but
that's Philadelphia. That's Pittsburgh.
They do have a big tourist industry where this was filmed. There's they rebuilt, I think the cottage.
No way.
And so there's this kind of weird, we like that The Quiet Man was filmed, but we kind of have problems with it. I think it's just it's mixed.
Sure, I think everybody has to move for as wannabe movie snobs. We're going back to where, movies that were filmed before Black people were allowed at the Academy Awards. We're talking about and you're having to suspend some really.
Yeah, they're not woke.
What? Yeah, there's
what?
There's some really big
hashtag not me too. What?
This is cringy, but it's okay, we're not allowed to start watching these movies before 1965 or
Oscar so really, really, really white.
Yeah. And if this is included, we're not gonna watch that.
Yeah, I don't even know if they let Italians in.
It's like watching a Disney movie that has the disclaimer at the top. This is depictions that are
not only
really questionable, but we still hope you like this movie.
I'm reading the book Oscar Wars right now, and I'm to the section because Capra was so mad that he didn't win an Oscar for the movie he did right before It Happened One Night.
Oh.
Because he didn't win for A Wonderful Life, but he swept it with It Happened One Night, right? So then, sure enough, he wins all the categories, and he was so mad at the Oscars at that point. By the way, they don't know. No one knows where the term Oscar came from. There's 3 different stories of where the term Oscar came from.
Because it's the statue is Oscar, right?
Yeah, but
I think somebody just named him that.
So but who?
Not me.
So there's the
John Wayne.
Anyways, we're going off the thing, but that's why it's interesting thinking through because Frank Capra then became the president of the Academy Awards. Of the Academy, and the Academy was supposed to be this it was kind of the brainchild of Mayer to have let's all work together, guys, and then the Screen Actors Guild's like, screw you guys, we don't trust you. Anyways, so then Capra then became the president of the Screen Actors Guild. It was a crazy time. So when we talk about the Oscars, it's a very interesting thing because they were so new at this time still. They didn't think it was a real thing. It almost died 6 years in, and we never came out. So using the Oscars as the standard now is so weird because it was just a correlation.
Yeah, you're also they didn't pick that person because she was a suspected communist, and she probably just didn't get in because they were she was being investigated by, or somebody gets snubbed because
McCarthyism or something.
Yeah.
and they talk about that, the snubs, and then the next year they make up for it, and then the next year, and so they like it's been a thing since like year 6 that's like awkwardly back and forth. So anyways,
Sure.
but thinking through this movie, it's kind of interesting because John Ford is one of the most decorated directors of all time, and this one was supposed to be a flop. And that's what I do like about this. This one was supposed to be
the fact that
garbage,
Republic picked it
no-
up, and they're
boring.
like B movie makers.
Yeah.
The
And it
budget
wasn't
was a
Western.
million.
And not only were they this is the crazy part to me. This is John
B
freaking
Westerns.
Ford. This is the man. He's done everything. This is post-war John Ford. He is an American hero at this point. He's won 3 Academy Awards at this point as Best Director. And they're like, no, you have to make this other movie first or else we won't greenlight this movie. So he had to make, was it Rio Grande? Grande? Yeah, so he had to make Rio Grande on a nothing budget, and it killed. And so then he made this one, and this one killed even more. It's just crazy. It's like it happened one night. Like, you only get 4 weeks to do it, and it's one of the most acclaimed movies of all time.
Yeah.
I love
Creative
it. And,
constraints are good.
oh, whatever so they are. Although
Some
this
of us
one,
work best under pressure.
yeah, and some of us, when you're, it's interesting because then they talk about how like then Citizen Kane was snubbed like soon after that, and he had no creative constraints because was it RKO, whatever studio he was working for had like they're up a creek and they just need something, and so they gave him free act, like do whatever you want. But he was young enough. It seems like the young actors can have more freedom. But when you give an old George Lucas, or an old Martin Scorsese free reign, they do some crazy, boring things.
For 4 hours.
Actually,
4 hours.
Speaking of time, this is one of those stories where you're like, is this real? That'll be my last fun fact. So he showed this screening to Republic execs, and it was 129 minutes. They're like, John, you know we don't release movies over 2 hours, so you got to cut 9 minutes. And so John Ford's like,
so good.
Okay. Shows him another cut. Basically, the movie just stops right before the conclusion because he's like, I cut 9 minutes.
Right before the fight. Because the fight was 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
So he literally, right before they're about to fight, he cuts it.
Nice.
Isn't that great?
They're like, I cut everything I could. Do you want me to put it back? And they're like, well, okay, yeah.
Like, fine.
What is the line? As you can plainly see, there's nothing left to cut out. So I give you The Quiet Man at exactly 120 minutes.
That's
And,
so funny.
Now you want those last 9 minutes? Okay, fine.
So we did talk about the
banging on my
cinematography and some of the fun facts, but nobody talked about the soundtrack, the music to this, which apparently Maureen O'Hara died listening to.
And George A. Romero,
so
I heard.
Sweet.
Also.
Really?
And I don't. Outside of the
I-
bit I really liked where Og starts singing and then it became the soundtrack, which I loved. I was like, I didn't care about this soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, and the little jig, the part that I loved it the most in was at the very, very end where they show everybody in their cameos and they're just looking at the camera and it's just adorable.
That's funny.
Oh, I loved it. It just made it like that much more. This is Hollywood Irish. You know, we're just, everybody's just smiling for the camera at the end. In their own little.
End of a Love Boat episode or something, you know?
Yeah. It was adorable.
I rented this from the library, as you do, and it had that classic like TCM, the guy with the glasses who does all this stuff behind the scenes, and it was it's
Leonard
just,
Maltin?
Leonard Maltin, Pat, you were the man.
He's good.
Oh my
I love a
goodness.
good Leonard.
And they had like the flickering like firelight, and it like panned around. Everything about it, I was like, this. I forget about the production. Now that I do video, I like laugh. I'm like, this was a lot of work to get that dolly to go around the living room while Leonard Maltin is following it, and it's like tungsten, like super.
But then you realize how
orangey.
many times he did it.
Oh,
Like,
killed
probably
it.
after
Yeah.
like 3 or 4, he is like, I got it.
I got you.
Yeah, remember all these
Dude.
facts.
I
It was
loved that
so
before
good.
the movies would play.
Yeah,
Ah,
that was
I
the best
still,
part of TCM.
yeah,
Honestly, like
the intro.
like there's things that we because of YouTube and everything else. Like VH1 Behind the Music was the coolest thing ever. Until now, you can do that with anything because you just look at it.
Yeah, what was the show that they had like the pop-up videos in the
Oh yeah.
where it'd be like it would just blurp a little fun fact while
Yeah.
they're like
And now that's like everything.
Yeah.
You get that on Amazon if you just watch anything.
yeah.
So, anyways, okay, Pat. We already know Mariah's. Mariah, is this still your top 10 movie?
Yeah, still a top 10.
Still top 10. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Crazy.
Right?
I mean,
I
I
figured-
enjoy the movie. I do
I did
enjoy
too.
it.
There's so
There's
many
so
charming
many
things.
I liked about it.
Inner turmoil, but it is charming.
I see and hear your problems. And I don't dismiss them, but I love the movie in spite of them.
It's just so different to be a John Ford, John Wayne movie. There's no war. There's no cowboys. It's just so confusing.
Yeah, which
Well,
I
even the
kind of
fight
like.
is just very playful.
Well, and for me
Yeah.
too, like the best James Bond movie is one where he gets married. And that guy only played one film.
George
Like,
Lazenby.
yeah, on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Get out of here.
My favorite one. Because
I'm
it's
watching that tonight.
outside.
Mariah's an odd duck, you know?
Yeah,
It's
she is. Oh, my
outside of
goodness.
like the formula. I think is what I like about it.
That's
I like the
amazing.
outlier stuff.
That's cool and terrible.
It sometimes works. It
Sometimes
sometimes
works.
does not work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Okay, Pat. Where you got? Where you got
Wow.
this? I mean, it is a wow because it's like it's a very surprising movie.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well, I hope you were both surprised.
I was very surprised. I didn't know it.
was.
I didn't know it wasn't a Western or a war movie. I assumed it was
you
a
were
Western.
shocked, offended, and appalled.
I thought, let's talk about the title. It's dumb. Okay, the title, he's not quiet. He's talking the whole
yeah.
time.
but
it's a
when
dumb
Michelin
title.
is introduced him, he's like, "Oh,
Oh,
he's a
you're the
nice,
quiet-
quiet,
Yeah, and it's one of
But
the
it
other town folks say it too. It's still.
But
dumb.
he
Yeah.
said several
Quiet,
adjectives
peace-loving
about
man.
him. Yeah, quiet,
Yeah.
peace-loving
Yeah.
man. Why isn't it called a quiet, peace-loving man?
Or why isn't it just called? Yeah.
because then it would be like an old country western song."
I think I've decided if the movie title has nothing actually to do with the movie, it does better. It happened one night, for example. What does that mean? It doesn't.
It.
We don't. Originally the title was like bus trip or something.
Oh,
it was
and
like
technically, it was more than one night.
yeah. It doesn't make
Well,
any sense.
I think the studio wanted this to be called, The Fighter and the Irish Girl or something like that. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, that kind of gives away the whole thing.
And
Yeah,
then-
it was like the fighter and Colleen, and her name's not Colleen.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The other
So I don't know.
That'll be more
There's-
confusing. You
also
don't have a Colleen in this?
right.
Maybe her name was Colleen in the original story.
That's
or something.
worse than Back to the Future. You're not even going to the future. How do you go back to the future? It doesn't even make
We
We
sense.
gotta go
Back.
back to the future again.
That's my point. The point is titles don't have to make sense.
No.
They just have to be like kind of buzzwords.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is the most.
Did this make it to your
You
top
know,
10?
It didn't, but it wasn't close.
But I never thought it would anyway. So.
But it wasn't anything I expected, and I was very pleasantly surprised. And I think I watched this with my sister-in-law again, and we're just like, "What the crap? Why does Mariah like this?" Like we literally looked at each other like,
See, I like confusing people.
I sort of said that, and then I also was like, I know why Mariah likes this. Like, it both didn't make sense and made 100% sense. So
"That is."
Yeah.
All the John Wayne movies. I was like, I don't want to say it's not the least snobbiest. They speak Gaelic in it for crying out loud, so it's got to be like a little. And Martin Scorsese loves it, and a lot of other like famous people and prominent people in the film world.
Yeah. Good
and
directors.
it's critically acclaimed, and it got
It
awards.
made money.
Like, it.
But gosh
it's-
darn it, your top 10.
It's not. Yeah, it's not real snobby though, right? Like it's not. It's
Oh,
snobby.
not really.
You ready for this? This is one of the few movies that our parents liked.
So you know it's not
So
snobby.
you know it's not snobby. Because, like, it's happy in a weird
it ends.
way.
It ends happy.
It ends happy. And it ends with the woman in the kitchen making food. Because that's literally what she says. It's like, after she, like, threw him down, she's like, I'll be in the kitchen. If you let me know what
I'll be
you need.
back at the house.
I'll be back at the house, whatever. And she's like proud to be back at the. Oh, it's amazing. It is.
Well, yeah. She's now like, I'm now fully your wife in all ways.
You're finally a man.
No
You
more
finally,
no more sleeping bag for you.
Congratulations.
You're finally a man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Now I'm your sleeping bag.
Gross.
Don't like that. Don't like that. For so many reasons.
That's getting cut.
What a way to
Why
end
is
it.
Pat our voice of reason? By the way, Pat is the only.
Pat's our moral compass.
He is.
This is
What
this is
going on?
problematic.
This is very problematic. That is great.
Thanks for keeping us real, Pat.
Oh, so this is Pat's favorite movie. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you this. I think we're just going to end. Any final thoughts, guys? What's your what's your final review, Pat?
Go in knowing it does not hold up in all the ways you would like it to, depending on your point of view. But
Intonation goes up right when you say that. Is there like a mark you can put, like intonation going up?
But it is charming, and all the exteriors are gorgeous. The studio stuff's kind of junk, to be honest. And John Wayne called that out too. Like, this doesn't look good. But but it is fun, and it is, if you're interested in John Ford or John Wayne, it is an interesting deviation from what you'd expect. I would not say it's the first movie you should watch of any of theirs, but I enjoyed myself. I had a good time, even though I went like a lot.
Yeah, I think it's probably. I don't think it's the most problematic of the trio's movies together.
For sure, no.
For sure.
Oh, come on!
No, I
you
think
know how many
McClintock
Native
is maybe
Americans have
worse.
died in those movies? Oh,
Right? I think
Which
I
one?
was doing something. McClintock, which is the one they did after, is like
Yeah.
maybe worse as far as like
There's-
abusiveness.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
At
don't
least
remember
like
that one
when
either.
it's abusive in some of the other ones, like The Searchers and like.
Yeah, they're a
Oh,
scoundrel.
that's bad. You feel bad because he's a
Yeah,
horrible
he's
person.
a bad guy. Yeah.
But when he's the good guy, it's a little sketchy.
What do you think, Seth?
I think this shows like I would start out the review John Ford's project of love, or like his heart project, shows beautiful landscapes, heartfelt moments, and incredible characters, despite its problematic moments that kind of make you cringe. But for all the John Wayne and John Ford fans, it's probably a must watch. It shows you how much more well-rounded John Ford is. If you're just watching the wars and the westerns, you don't get to experience the fullness of John Ford as a director. And this one's very nice, being his love project that he's always wanted to do. It helps you kind of understand, like, oh, I see you want to be this other thing. And so it's kind of nice. It was actually, in a weird way, Pat, it was refreshing to see.
Yeah, this is John Ford lighthearted and comedic.
Isn't that crazy? But it was like,
yeah.
Because all the other ones, like The Searchers is so hard and heavy. Even
Well, in every Civil War movie.
it's just a little hard, and I can't take John Wayne serious half the time. So it was kind of nice that he was a straight guy in this one.
Well, it's like comedians doing dramatic roles or vice versa, and you're like, hey, that's fun.
Yeah, it's like Kevin Hart doing that Red movie. It was terrible.
Did not watch that.
Oh, it was so
Sorry,
bad.
Kevin.
It was so bad. I'm like, I just want you to make a funny line like you do in Jumanji. And so, yeah. So I was very surprised, but not mad about the direction John Ford took. And I'm glad he got to make this movie. Is it his best movie? No. It's not even his top 3. But it is a very refreshing take.
Yeah.
So, there we go. That was a long, not
I agree with
succinct,
it.
but yeah. Well, guys, this has been honestly. I'm really glad we watched this movie, and it wasn't.
I'm glad we did because
Same.
I'm tired. Got so tired of saying you guys need to
you
watch
The Quiet
this."
Man, and we kept thinking like seriously.
And now you'll know what I'm talking about.
and
At
here's
least
the thing: we've done so much John Ford. I was like, I feel like we've really. I'm sick of John Ford. I'm not sick of John Ford really, but I'm like, I feel like we've done.
We
enough
know
of the
what it
cowboy
is.
genre. We know what it is, but
But
this
you
wasn't.
didn't know what it
this
was.
wasn't John Ford in any way we
Not
expected.
at
So that
all.
was nice.
I'm really pleased to have surprised you.
Yes.
Not so
You
much
zigged.
to have offended you, but
Yes.
the surprise was fun.
And the offense was surprising too, actually. Even the offense was very surprising.
I think it is one of
folks,
those two. The more you watch it, probably the more numb you'd get to some of that, and like
for
you've
sure.
grown up on
Well,
it, and
yeah.
you'd be like, "Yeah, okay."
Oh yeah, no
Absolutely.
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. I can't imagine what
Which
some of the movies I'm going to show
maybe
my
isn't a
kids.
good thing, but
No.
it is what
Probably
it is.
not.
No. I think we're still doing the top 10 series, right, guys? Pat, are you
Maybe.
next?
Sure, it
I
could
think
be.
it's his turn.
I don't know what it would be. I'll
We
have to
did.
look.
I'm doing a little review here for those folks who haven't caught up. Last week we did my movie with Tree of Life, which was I was thinking about this for Tree of Life, guys. I'm going back. That came out in 2011. Is that right? I think so. 2011ish. That's when cameras got cheaper and more accessible to like wedding film. Like the cameras were just so much better. You could use a DSLR and shoot some pretty cool stuff when you never could do that 3 or 4 years earlier. And so this movie coming out and like the weddings changing the way they shoot, I was like, this makes so much sense. Like I bet that was a big influence. Anyways, that was another thing. And before that, we had a very fun treat. Pat brought the Royal Tenenbaums, which was, I still have the outfit hanging over there of Richie Tenenbaum because I hate to say I'm such a fan of that movie, and it's annoying how much I think of it. I haven't even returned this book yet of the Royal Tenenbaums because it's
a good one.
just so fun. So next week we're back to Patrick, and I'll be interested in what movie you pick. 'Cause
Yeah,
you
same.
got a few.
I will also be
Let's
interested
see.
in what movie I pick.
Yeah. Let's see what your top
Let's
10
see
was.
what top 10 was. Let's see if you remember any of the movies on there. You know what movie I kind of want you to pick is to me, the weirdest one on your list. It's Gosford Park.
Oh, I
That-
could go for that
That
one.
is the outlier that to me makes no sense why Patrick picked at all.
We'll see.
Well,
see why you
maybe.
We'll
picked
see.
it.
Maybe.
So, guys, maybe next week when we Gosford Park, we'll see. Pat and I have to have the discussion and see what's available.
Oh, heart to heart.
Anyways, Mariah, thanks for the movie.
You're
Good-
welcome.
Good times.
You're
That's good.
Thank you,
welcome.
Mariah.
Yep. I'm Seth.
Mariah.
And
Patty.
we
Patty.
Patty. Not as much Irish accents as you thought it would be either,
No,
Patty.
I really
we
don't
have
think.
way more. We
That was already too much.
We are your How to
Straight
Be a
there.
movie snob team, and we'll be coming back with more movies next week. And guys, keep watching movies, keep listening, like, subscribe. Thanks for all the time. Till next week. Bye.
Goodbye.